Hi everybody, I'm Joey Paul and I'm an indie author and welcome back to my channel. I write young adult fiction across a variety of genres, and if you think that might interest you, then think about subscribing below. I also have a coffee shop with signed paperbacks and swag, which you can also find below. So I thought that I would talk more about disability today. I've been very lucky to have a 20-year, almost 21 career as an author and have been disabled and chronically ill the whole time. I thought that today I would talk a little bit about how being disabled has had an impact on my writing, on the stories I've told, and on the career path that I have chosen. Usual disclaimer, I am far from the only disabled Authortuber or YouTuber out there, and I will only be talking about things from my own experience, as I don't want to give information that's false. So number 1, the stories I tell. From the start, I wrote stories that had some kind of health or disability angle. They didn't all end up published, nor will they ever, but there was always some kind of chronic illness and or disability mentioned. My debut, Blackout, has a disabled side character who shares a lung condition with me. Lynn and Hope, my 5th book, has a disabled main character, but for a long time I thought I had to hide the disability experience. Not because people were telling me to, or I was being forced, I just want to be clear there, but because I didn't think that there was a market for it. I've spent my life in and out of hospital, and I was always a vicarious reader, but the stories I read rarely had any mention of chronic illness or disability. So I, in my naivety, assumed that there just wasn't a market for them. That changed as I grew into the author life. Suddenly I was aware that there were stories I could tell and people wanted to read them, and once I realised that, there was no stopping me. My first big disability series was the Lights Out trilogy. From there was always some kind of disability angle. Like the Invisible Quartet, the 3rd book of which is coming out next year, hopefully, it's all about disability. And I like that. I want that to be within my wheelhouse. But for a long time, it was side characters and little bits and pieces here and there, rather than the focus. And while I don't think that the only reason to have a disabled character is to make their disability the focus, I do think it's nice to see disability just present for no underlying reason. So that's what I do, and that's what I will continue to do. Number 2, the influences on me. Like I said, I grew up reading all the books I could, things like Enid Blyton and Roald Dahl, and eventually books by Jacqueline Wilson, who is a prolific children's author here in the UK. And while there were some hints of chronic illness, they didn't ever really focus on that in a big way. Growing up, I would spend a lot of time either as an inpatient in hospital or waiting in clinics for various reasons. I would read and read and read and read to pass the time. But I would also get talking to the other kids. I made friends with some of them. Some of those friendships never went beyond the ward, but others went further. And I realised that a lot of us wanted to see ourselves, or our conditions at least, mentioned in stories. So when it came to writing, and when I finally saw the light, that's what influenced me. The kids who had grown up never seeing themselves reflected. I wanted to shine a light on that. I say this, and I don't want it to come across like I think that I am the only disabled author doing this, because I very much am not, but for me it was a part of that driving force, as I think it is for a lot of disabled and chronically ill authors. Number 3, choosing indie. When it first came to being published, I tried to query in the way it was back in the early 2000s before social media. I was obviously not successful. Instead, I ended up getting published in 2005 through a vanity press. Yes, I know now about all the scams and horrors involved in these, but at the time, I didn't have that knowledge. Now, when KDP and the like became a thing, I threw myself into being an indie author. My reasonings were simple. I don't know how much and how often I can do things. My conditions vary greatly, and I've only gotten sicker as I've gone on. While now I have a way of working, back then I didn't. I wasn't as organised and productive as I was before the sepsis, and it showed. I didn't want to push myself into a flare so that I could meet some deadline that I was never going to manage. So choosing indie for me was inherently about my disabilities, my conditions, and what I'd be able to manage. It was, as it always is, a very personal choice. And I will never decide to make that choice for anyone else. You've got to do what works for you. And indie was what did and does work for me. My publishing path, with now 24 books out and 2 more hopefully coming next year, was tied to my disabilities. And I have no regrets there. Number 4, the impact of disability. I've touched on a little that my health has declined in the years since I was first published. Disability and chronic illness are an ever-changing beast. You'll lose this function, but gain that one, or lose both of them. So knowing that I could only manage whatever I could manage at any given time, my writing life has been and will continue to be centered around my disabilities. Like I've already said, I wasn't back in the day anywhere near as productive as I was before the sepsis, but I know that can and probably will change. Like I said, with the sepsis, it has changed completely how I approach working. My choices there was that I wanted to make sure that I had done as much as possible before the day came that made it so that I couldn't do as much as I used to. And it kind of feels like that day has arrived, but hopefully, maybe, possibly, I'll get back into a routine and way of doing things that mean that I'm still pushing that day back a bit. My disabilities and chronic illnesses have very much had an impact on my choices, on my books, on my work, and on me as an author. And I don't think there's any getting away from that fact. So there we go. Those are my thoughts on disability when it comes to writing or being a writer. I'm more talking about the personal side of disability, the individuality of it. Like someone with the exact same conditions as me and the exact same symptoms is going to have a completely different way of doing things to me. And that's fine. That's okay. That's how life works. What do you think influenced your first kind of stories? Let me know in the comments down below. So that's all I've got time for today. If you want to support my channel, you can comment, like, or subscribe. I post new videos on Thursdays. You can find me all over social media and my books are available everywhere. You can also sign up for my newsletter and you can also support me at my coffee shop. And don't forget to pick up Cramming Chronicles: The Fourth Torment, which is the 4th in a young adult urban fantasy series. All the links for which are listed below. Thanks for watching and remember to keep writing. Bye.